back to BHookedCrochet.com. I'm your host Brittany. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to crochet the pebbled stitch. For this tutorial I'll be working with a worsted weight yarn and a size 5.5mm hook. However, you can use any yarn and any size hook that coordinates. To begin the pebbled stitch, we just want to start off with a slip knot. And we'll need to work in multiples of 2 or just an even number. So we want to chain an even number of stitches. And for the sake of this demonstration, I'll go ahead and chain 16. Once you've made the proper number of chains for whatever project you're working on, or if you're following along with me and just making a swatch, to continue on to our first row, we just want to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So if we look at it from this direction, we've got our first chain right there, and our second chain is right there. We want to work one single crochet into that chain, and then one single crochet into every chain. Now you can work your single crochet into any loop of the chain, so whatever you're used to. I'm simply working into that top loop there. Once you're finished with your foundation row of single crochet, we're ready to start diving into the pattern and the texture with row 2. So we want to chain 1, turn our work, and we need to start off by making a single crochet into the first stitch. So the first stitch right there, that's right next to our chain, just go ahead and make a single crochet. And now here's where the fun part begins. This pattern uses a stitch that is probably pretty new to you. It's called the extra extended single crochet. And here's how we do it. We want to insert our hook into the next stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Now yarn over and pull through just that first loop. And yarn over and pull through just that first loop one more time. Then yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. And see how that makes an extra long stitch? It actually looks like some chains, and that's pretty much what we did when we yarned over and pulled through that first loop. But here's what creates the texture. From this point, we need to make a single crochet into the next stitch. And since the single crochet is considerably shorter than the extra extended single crochet, if you flip it over, you can see we've created that nice little texture on the other side. Now that brings up another point. The texture, when doing this stitch, actually occurs on the back side. So when I say back side, I mean the side that's facing away from you. Okay, so from here, we're going to make an extra extended single crochet into the next stitch. And now single crochet into the next. And that's our pattern repeat for this particular row. We're just going to alternate extra extended single crochet stitches and single crochet stitches. If you've done everything properly, you should end row 2 with a single crochet into the last stitch. If that's not the case, you might want to flip your work over and just double check and make sure that you were alternating in the proper order. So you've got the extra extended single and then the single crochet and the extra extended, and you just want to make sure that you alternated that correctly. If you believe that you've done that part correctly, then you may just double check the number of chains that you started off with, because there's a chance that you miscounted. To begin row 3, we need to chain 1, turn our work, and we want to make 1 single crochet into every stitch. So just a regular single crochet. We're going to start with this first stitch right there on the edge. And you have to be a little bit careful when you're finding the stitches where the extra extended single crochets are. So you just want to make sure you don't skip those. And just continue to make 1 single crochet into every stitch. To continue on with the pattern, we just want to start off with 1 chain and we'll turn our work. So this is now row 4 that we're working on. And we want to make our textured stitches, or the extra extended single crochets, offset from each other for this particular pattern. Now you could continue and just repeat rows 2 and 3 for the rest of your project if you want the little textured stitches to be in line with each other. But for this particular tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to make them offset. So we'll have our next textured stitch right here in between these two, and in between that one. And so I want to demonstrate how to do that for row 4. We want to start off with making 1 single crochet into the first 2 stitches. And now we can make our extra extended single crochet into the next stitch. And make 1 single crochet into the next. And from this point the pattern repeat is the same that we're used to. Now we're going to alternate the extra extended and the regular single crochet. So the only difference that we are seeing here with row 4 is that we're going to start off with 2 single crochets. We're also going to end with 2 single crochets that are right next to each other. Now, as I mentioned before, your last 2 stitches should be single crochets. So if you've done everything right, you should have 2 stitches left to make 2 single crochets. And again, if you find that you are off pattern a little bit, then you can just go back and check on the right side of the work, which is the side with the texture, and just make sure everything looks correct. Moving on to row 5 and the last row in the pattern repeat, we just chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch. So this is actually the same as row 3 of this pattern. Alright, once you have finished row 5, then you would simply just repeat rows 2 through 5 until your project is the length that either your pattern calls for, or until your piece is as long as you need it for whatever project you're working on. There's a couple things that I want to note about this pattern. As you work this stitch, you'll start to notice that your texture may sort of go away. And what's happening is they're not disappearing. I noticed as I was working my project with it, I'm holding on to it with my hands like this. And you can actually push those stitches into or actually out through the other side. And so one thing I did once I finished my project was just pull those stitches back out so that you can see them. So that's one thing that you'll notice. The other thing that I noticed when working this pattern is that for whatever reason it tends to want to slant a little bit. And it actually made me think that I had my stitch count wrong, because I noticed it was kind of going in on this side here, but it was actually coming out on the other side as well. So for whatever reason it does like to kind of slant a little bit. So it was something that I was able to easily correct with wet blocking. And wet blocking is simply just where you would take your finished piece, you would pin it down, each corner, so you kind of would stretch it out into the shape that you want it to be, completely saturate it with water, and let it air dry overnight. And then it's perfect, it's good to go from there. However, this isn't a completely necessary step unless you're really trying to get a very professional look. This concludes our demonstration on the pebbled stitch. If you are looking for more information on this stitch, or maybe some project ideas, or even the free pattern that I have available on my blog for this stitch, go ahead and visit the link in the description below this video, and that will get you to the post that has all of my information on this stitch. On behalf of BHookedCrochet.com, I'm your host Brittany. Please stay tuned for more free patterns and video tutorials at BHookedCrochet.com.